transferring your VC from NBA 2K25 to NBA 2K26. It's yours, ain't it? You pay for it. That's what we finna get into. If any of you guys are new here, consider dropping a like and a sub. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's get to the video.
It's AllCity. Load up that clip.
This happens every single year, yeah. A new game comes out. Everybody starts asking, will our VC transfer from the old game into the new game? And up until this point, 2K has never allowed any VC transferring from one console to the next. I'll give you guys a for instance. I changed from PlayStation to Xbox this year. In Season 5, I stopped playing on PlayStation due to latency issues on the PlayStation console, and I switched on over to Xbox. I had to start a whole new account from scratch, and I had over 100,000 VC on my PlayStation account. I couldn't transfer that over to my Xbox account. Also, up until this point, 2K has never allowed any transferring of VC from one generation to the next. In other words, if you have VC on, say, the old gen version of 2K, you can't transfer that VC onto the new gen version. And lastly, 2K has never allowed any transferring of VC from one game to the next. After you finish your annual cycle of NBA 2K24, you weren't able to transfer your VC to NBA 2K25. And as is the case every single year, players are wondering if 2K finally made a change. Will players be able to transfer their virtual currency from NBA 2K25 to NBA 2K26? And for the folks that don't know, it's a legitimate concern that players have. Take a look at some of the pricing that NBA 2K has for their virtual currency packs. $19.99 for 75,000. They're also charging you for pro passes, Hall of Fame passes. Pro pass is $9.99. Hall of Fame pass is $19.99. And then you got the VC packs. 450,000 VC, you'll pay $100. $149 for 700,000 VC worth of virtual currency. So naturally, if players spend their hard-earned money on virtual currency packs within the game, players believe they have some sense of ownership. They're transferring their real-world money for virtual money. Don't you guys think they should be able to take that wherever they're playing a 2K game? Well, 2K believes this is all an illusion. Smoke and mirrors. The sense of ownership over virtual currency is an illusion that players have created within their own mind. At least that's what 2K believes. 2K says you don't own that virtual currency, even if you paid real world money for it. Just like you don't own that NBA 2K game, you're just purchasing a license. And 2K feels the same about its virtual currency. It's an asset of the company that you're paying to license out. Morally and ethically, to players, this may just seem all sorts of wrong. But when it comes to money, when does 2K ever care about morals or ethics? You know how Call of Duty allows you to take your currency wherever you play an online game? You create one account and all your currency that you purchase is added to that account. Wherever you log into this account, you're able to use your virtual currency. Why wouldn't 2K allow something like this? The short of the long is pure greed. And the crazy part is that 2K even doubles down on that greed. Let's say some players just don't have enough money to purchase the new game. Let's say there may be 2 annual cycles back. They may not necessarily care about roster updates. They just want to play an NBA game. And the fact is that 2K ends up cutting the servers for older versions of 2K to persuade or encourage players to come on to the newer versions of 2K and start spending more money. And this means that all the players that were still playing the older versions of 2K, spending money on those games, buying virtual currency packs for the older versions of 2K, and 2K shuts down those servers, they lose all that money. But 2K says it was never yours in the first place. Let's take a look at this snippet. It says Take-Two pushes back against class action lawsuit that says it's stealing from players when they lose virtual currency after an NBA 2K game servers are shut down. Says there's no ownership at stake. Says virtual currencies are fictions created by game publishers. And in the article below, it's titled Take-Two denies NBA 2K microtransaction theft claim. Says virtual currencies is a fiction. And this thought process has put 2K under fire. Can you own physical currency? Of course. Can you own something like a cryptocurrency? Of course. But are you entitled to virtual currencies that you guys purchased with physical money? That was the underlying question that was being posed to the U.S. District Court in the Northern District of California. And that was after players were sick and tired of 2K's business ethics and started to fight back with a class action lawsuit against 2K. Let's reference this article of the Sports and Entertainment Law Journal at Arizona State University. It says here, on November 17, 2023, a 2K consumer and their mother filed a class action complaint for damages against 2K Games and Take-Two Interactive. The heart of the class action complaint alleges conversion, civil theft, and unfair business practices as a result of the defendant's procedures for closing down old games and removing any and all virtual currencies. This means any VC players have earned or purchased disappear completely with no compensation or the ability to transfer to new titles. For example, the complaint asserts 2K Games retired NBA 2K21 on December 31st, 2022, just over 2 years after the game's release, the new release. In tandem with retiring an older version of a game, 2K Games also needlessly removes any VC remaining. The plaintiff in the class action seek to enjoin defendants from this misconduct and reclaim the value of that virtual currency that they spend their hard-earned money to get. And I already know some of you guys are thinking like, what's it to 2K to just let that virtual currency transfer over into the newer version of 2K and keep players engaged, keep players on the game? Shouldn't that be 2K's top priority, keeping players engaged and on the game? The longer players stay on the game, the more money 2K makes. Normally, most companies will see that as a win-win. In 2K's arrogance, they say, nah, we don't care. You can get up out of here. We'll just get newer players. Newer players replacing those old players who are tired of 2K's business etiquette. And these newer players to the game are completely unaware of the tactics that 2K use in their aggressive monetization approach. 2K and Take-Two's rebuttal to the class action lawsuit is pretty straightforward. It says VC is not the plaintiff's property. While the members of a class action claim rights over the virtual currency as a result of paying for them, defendants take the position that virtual currencies are fictions created by game publishers, synonymous to games themselves. These creations by game publishers are thus subject to the same terms of service and user agreements. Now, I'm unsure how many of you guys remember this, but it wasn't too long ago that after purchasing your actual copy of an NBA 2K game, I don't know if this was 2K23 or somewhere close around there, almost mid-year, 2K sent out new user agreements. And if you didn't sign that agreement, you could no longer even play the game you already purchased. I believe those new terms of service agreements were sent out in response to this class action lawsuit. 2K covering their behind to double down on the idea that you guys do not own this virtual currency and you can no longer file a class action lawsuit against 2K. Sound off in the comment section if you remember when that happened. Now let's start to wrap up this article. It says, seeking to close the claim, defendants 2K filed a motion to dismiss the class action on February 2nd, 2024. Under the motion, defendants pointed to clauses in their end user license agreement discussing the virtual currency signed by players whenever they play games created by defendants 2K. The agreements, using standard end user licensing wording, state players have a limited right and license to virtual currency. Under these agreements, Take-Two and 2K argue they can suspend or eliminate virtual currency as they see fit. And whether or not players feel like this is morally wrong, the courts ended up agreeing with 2K. This practice of shutting down their servers and this practice of removing virtual currencies that you guys paid for older versions of 2K, it's lawful in the eyes of the courts. It says here, there have been class action lawsuits filed against 2K Games regarding the loss of virtual currency when older games are retired. But the courts have sided with developers, stating that the currency is not a player's property and they have no claim when it is no longer usable. And in this last snippet, it says NBA 2K Games do not allow the transfer of virtual currency between different versions of the game or from one game to another. This policy is in place because the developers consider the virtual currency to be a digital asset that exists solely within the confines of each game, rather than being a transferable property of the player. Now, I thought it was really important going into the new annual cycle, NBA 2K26 right around the corner, that we keep this type of stuff at the forefront of our mind when we're considering purchasing these virtual currency packs. It's only because 2K players spend so much money on 2K games that 2K is allowed this sort of arrogance and this sort of aggressive monetization approach on their player base. As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this stuff, so share them in the comment section below. If any of you guys are new here, consider dropping a like and a sub on your way out, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, yeah. If you guys are tired of running with randoms and you're looking for players to run with on NBA 2K, come on out and join the AllCity 2K Discord. The link will be in the description below. Find players and get runs now. Drop a like and drop a sub on your way out. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, yeah.